contradiction or something that's either a contradiction or not. The minimalist view doesn't I guess, say that it's not the case. It's just saying, well, there's just a middle ground upon, well, there seems to be this lack of suspension of belief upon both sides, and there has to be some constructive evidence that follows.
Yeah, so that would just mean you don't have epistemic access to the P or not P. That doesn't mean it wouldn't be present, is what I'm saying.
That's fine. It's not, no, a minimalist view doesn't say it's not present. It just doesn't follow along with the law of
Yeah, so
excluding
that
middle.
doesn't take away from the premise of it's either P or not P. It just means you don't have epistemic access to the P or not P.
No. You're not understanding. So the minimalist view doesn't say that it's not. It goes against just saying that there's only P and not P. It just says that there's P and not P, and there's the suspension of belief upon that, and that's going to be the middle ground. So it's not only just P and not P, and that's what it affirms.
Yeah, so do you think if I make a statement of apples are red and then another statement of apples are not red, do you think that if you make the middle ground statement of, oh, we can't discern if an apple is red or not red, does that mean that there's still a red apple or a not red apple?
Well, I don't know what the question.
Regardless
I
of
don't know
whether or
what
not you
that
know the
question
fact.
is supposing. It says, well, when you say it's either we discern it or not discern it, is not what the minimalist views try to say. It's that there seems to be a lack of constructive evidence that's brought to the case, and from the lack of constructive evidence that's in the case, there's nothing to affirm it or to deny it.
So do you
It's
think
not
there's
saying,
anything?
well, it's not the case. Well, it's not the case that there's not an apple, and it's not the case that it is apple. That's not what it's saying.
Yeah, so do you think there could ever be a case in which it couldn't be P and it couldn't also be not P, and you don't have evidence for either? Would
I
that
can give
mean
you the
that
case
it's
with the
not
apple
P or
analogy.
not?
So, yeah. So again, when we make propositions, they're arbitrary, right? So it's not has to be always external to reality when we make propositions. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear. All right. So, I can give you the case. So it seems that there's no evidence, constructive evidence that's pointing towards the proposition being true. And there's no, I guess, hold on, wait, I have it on notes. Let me be right quick. I have it in notes, bro. Flo gave it to me, though. I swear negation was something else than other than just not being the case. Where is it? So, okay, so it just says that if P were true, so it's not saying, okay, well, the minimalist view would say the negation it's not saying that it's not the case. It's just saying that if it's true, then some absurdity follows. So, and that just would be the negation. So it's not saying that we follow any of those two, as into the case of where the apple is either not, it is the case or not the case. It just seems that there's a lack of constructive evidence for both sides. There seems to be a suspense of beliefs on both.
Yeah, I get that there could be a.
Because it could be true. It could be true that it's not a contradiction to not deny it, right? Because obviously it's a possibility that the apple could be red. There's nothing constructive from the possibility that it is the case. So seems to be there seems to be a middle ground at that point.
Yeah, I understand that you're the view is just saying that it could be P and it could be not P, but you don't have evidence for either, right?
As when you mean could, you're just saying
It's possible that these things could be true, but you don't have access to that knowledge.
it's. I wouldn't say it's lack of access. It's, well, maybe I don't know what you mean by access, but what I'm saying
Just
is
like you
that, well,
you said you
yeah,
don't have
there
evidence for
seems
it.
to be the lack of constructive evidence. So if you're going to say that's the lack of access, then yeah.
Yeah, so if I present an apple and you don't know what color it is, and I say this apple is either red or not red, and you say, well, I don't know if it's red or not red, does that mean it's not red and it's also not red?
Well, it
It would
seems
still have to
that
be either red or
it
not red.
goes to wait, hold on. The lack of suspension goes against the law of excluding middle, because obviously in the classical logic, it's either it is the case that it's red or it's not the case it's red, right? But there seems to be a middle ground that the minimalist view gives. So obviously the lack of suspension of or the suspension of beliefs dependent on because there's a lack of constructive evidence, then yeah, we can just say that.
Yeah, I don't think the middle ground is actually like applying to the state of the apple though. It's just about
Okay,
like you don't know
again,
if
the
you
state of the
be or
apple
not.
doesn't matter. It's arbitrary, so it doesn't really have to be external. Like when we say propositions, they're not always external, or
Yeah,
I
I
should
know.
say
I'm saying like
they're not external. So when we make a proposition, it doesn't usually have to be the case, right? Because there could be unexplained things, right? The thing is that there's no reason for me to believe the other side, and then from that we create a middle ground, which would go
I know
against the
I'm not
classical
saying there would
logic.
be a reason for you to believe either side. I'm saying you'd have to believe that the biconditional would exist, that it is either red or not red.
No, I don't, because I just made a middle ground.
Yeah, the middle ground will be that you don't know if it's red or not red.
Yeah, just to be undefined.
It
That's
would
the
be in
middle ground.
some quantum superpositioning state where it's both red and not red. But I'm saying that doesn't exist.
So I don't know what that means, because again, if there's a middle ground, then it seems that there's the position that there's to be lack of what's it called? There's to be lack of the suspension of like beliefs on both sides. And again, if there's no constructive evidence, then there's no reason for me to believe either side. Because again, the apple could be possible, right? And they can also follow that the apple, just because the apple is possible, that doesn't mean that it's also absolute, or maybe not absolute, I should say, but it is the case, or it's true, whatever you take true to be. But again, like that's going to be the middle ground that I'm supposing, unless you're saying that like that's like dependent on existence. I don't even know. Again, propositions aren't arbitrary, so I don't know why you keep trying to refer to some external world when we talking about either it's P or not P, which I disagree.
Okay, so let me try to give like a reduction. Do you grant that it
Sure.
would be the case that an apple would have to either be red or not red, regardless of if you had the epistemic access to the color of that apple?
I don't think there's any reason for me because it's either red or not red, or could be third middle. Maybe there seems to lack of both, as into the aspect of
Okay, I'm
let's
not
say the
asking for like
apple
the
doesn't
epistemic
contain any
access, like
properties
what
of
you can
colors.
know about the apple. I'm asking would the
I'm
apple
not. I
be
didn't
in
say
some
any.
state that's both red and not red at the same time?
Do I think contradictions exist? Is that what you're asking me? No, I don't think contradictions exist.
Okay, so for something to be both P and not P, or neither P and not P, then it would have to be some sort of contradiction.
Wait, do you think that? Okay, wait. That's the same way that's saying. Okay, I'm not supposing that there's a P or not P or P, not P and then not P. That's not what I'm affirming. All I'm affirming is that there's a middle ground in suspension of belief, and that's going to be the middle. That's literally the middle ground. Like, what? And I don't know what you keep trying to arbitrate again, saying that it's a contradiction if I grant the middle ground, because there's literally no contradiction that I'm creating when I'm giving a middle ground.
Okay, let me try to give
Because
another
maybe
analogy.
maybe it's like a false dilemma. Like maybe it's okay. Like for example, let's say it's either P or Q, right? And it seems that it's neither of these, right? Because there's no reason to follow from like maybe because minimalist always goes against the principle of explosion, right? Because it's either logic fails, it explodes, and it seems that you could derive anything from Q, the principle of explosion. But the problem is that when we follow from that, where it goes against the minimalist view, where it's just saying, well, there's no reason or I guess any constructive evidence that follows that we should follow from Q. And again, I don't see how my view is contradictory at all from what I'm saying, because I just don't grant that P and not P is the only factors that we have, because there could be the suspension of that.
Okay, so
It's not
like
saying
the
that it's not,
building
again, it's not affirming any side. So when you say it's when the middle ground is P and not P at the same time, or the lack of P not P, all it's saying is that there's nothing, there seems to be some middle ground where there's a lack of support up on both sides with constructive evidence,
yeah,
of course.
I get that you're saying that's the view, but it still would be the case that
Yeah.
it would have to be either P or not P, regardless of which stance you're taking.
Wait,
Like that
again,
biconditional
oh my
would still
God.
exist, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I can't, okay, listen. The thing is that you're confusing when you say existence. Obviously, it's either P or not P. But I'm saying that there's either the position that you have, it's either P or not P, and then there's the lack of that. There's the middle ground, there's the undefined.
Yeah, I don't
And
think there
your
can be a lack
position
of P
from
or
the
not P. I think
premises to
P and not P
follow
would still
that there's
exist.
only P and not P, which I
You
disagree
can't
again.
discern if it's P or not P.
You can't discern P or not P.
Yeah, you
I'm not
can't
saying
discern
that the
if it's P or not
position,
P.
again, the
Just like
middle
you said,
ground
you don't have.
doesn't affirm that the position, again, hold on, the middle ground doesn't affirm that P and not P at the same time. It's just the lack of, I guess, constructive evidence that follows from any point. Because it's not contradictory that the apple could exist, but it's not, that also doesn't affirm the case that the apple exists. And if there's a
So
lack of
hold on,
constructive evidence that
let me give a
follows,
different analogy. So you know the
yeah,
Schrodinger's cat thought experiment.
the who?
Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, where there's a cat in a box. You don't know if
The
the cat's
cat,
alive or
yeah,
dead.
he's existent. Yeah, it's either existent or not
So
existent or
if you
something like
grant
that.
there's a cat in the box, you don't know if the cat's alive or dead. The cat would either have to be P alive or not P dead. You don't know
I
which
say there would
one, right?
be,
You don't have
you
constructive
don't think I
evidence
can
for
take the
either P or not
position
P.
where I don't have to give any of those positions because there seems to be a lack of constructive evidence for both sides.
Okay, I'm
You don't
saying
think I
you
could take
don't
that
have to
case?
give a position, but there would still be a cat that is either alive or not
Well, when
alive.
you say P or not P, you're affirming propositions. And all I'm saying from the propositional logic, from what we have, like classical logic, it follows that there's a middle ground. I don't know what you keep saying that it's either it is the case or not the case.
Yeah, the middle ground is
When
just
I
in
say that you
belief
there's the
of
middle
P
ground, that
or
there's the
belief of
lack of
not P.
that.
It's not about like whether or not P or not P can be true. It's just about the belief of either stances. It doesn't really mean anything towards my proposition. So if I
Okay,
were to
wait,
put a
wait,
box
wait,
in
wait,
front of
wait.
you with a
If
cat,
okay, do you
and I say
grant
the cat
that?
is
Wait, hold
either
on.
alive or it's dead, you can say,
It's
"Oh,
not beliefs,
identification
it's the
evidence as
lack
to
of
whether or not the
constructive
cat is alive or
evidence. I
dead."
don't know what you mean by belief. Can you like elaborate what you mean by belief?
Mean by what?
Can you elaborate what you mean by that? What I'm saying is just dependent on beliefs. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah,
Like
because
maybe
you can have
doxastic
constructive
beliefs?
evidence towards a proposition or towards a
Oh,
stance, so
so
you don't know which
doxastic beliefs,
that's
right?
the middle ground you're asserting, right?
Okay, just to be clear, you're talking about doxastic uh, propositions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could always. Again, there's the thing though, because I don't know how like the minimalist view takes upon diagnostic options. Because like again, maybe I affirm that maybe God exists, right? Or maybe I'm leaning more towards the like God exists and of a credence of like maybe I don't know 5 compared to 4. You know what I mean? From the other position, but it seems that there's still some lack of like constructive evidence on both sides. It's not necessarily the belief; it's there's a lack of evidence from there. So when you say belief, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. When I say belief, I'm just referring to a doxastic stance. I'm not saying that you
Okay,
would have to
then
take a
yeah,
stance
there
that the
seems to
cat is
be a
either
lack.
alive or not alive.
Okay, yeah. If you're just saying that there's a lack of constructive evidence that promotes either side, then yeah, that's gonna be the minimalist view. Minimalist view. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you're minimalist view, if you're just arguing for that, you can't believe in P and you can't also believe in not P because you don't have evidence for either, right?
It's yeah. There's no reason for me to affirm P, and there's no reason to affirm not P because there's a
Yeah.
lack of
So there
constructive
would still
evidence.
be a
Yeah.
reason for you to affirm the biconditional that it is either P or not P.
No, because then I'm taking the middle ground. That goes against the middle. It goes against the law of excluding middle. Because if I affirm that there's like a middle ground upon the lack of suspension, then it goes against
Yeah.
the
The
law of
thing is, I
excluding
don't think
middle.
this middle ground like actually exists. So I don't think you can believe that.
I already
I
gave
don't think in
justification
the
upon
sense
why it
that you can't
exists.
say it's not P and it's also not P, but it
It's
can't
not
be either P or
again
not.
the position's not saying that it's not P and not P. It's saying there's a lack of there's a lack of evidence, right? And the evidence has to be constructive. And from that constructive evidence, there's no reason to affirm any position.
I know
And
you're saying you
again,
can't discern
the law
whether
of
or not
excluding middle
it's P
goes
or
against
not.
this.
Yeah.
So if you affirm the law of excluding middle, and you take this view to also be the case, then it follows that it doesn't follow from the tautology.
Okay, so if you grant that the cat exists, right? Whether or
Wait,
not it's
why would I
alive or
grant the
dead,
cat
you
exists?
don't have any constructive evidence towards, right? You don't know if the cat
Wait,
is P or if it's not P.
okay,
You would still
wait.
grant that the biconditional of the cat being alive or not alive is like existing, right? Like that biconditional would still be in place, regardless of
Can
if
you
you
repeat
can.
the first part? Did you say that? Do I grant the cat that exists, or is that you're just giving the same
If you were
example?
to grant that the cat is within the box,
Okay, yeah, okay. I mean,
but you don't
again,
have any
right?
constructive evidence
Okay,
towards
I don't
whether the
think you're
cat is
understanding. I
alive.
don't think you're understanding. If I took that view, that would contradict the minimalist view. And because you affirmed the minimalist view, right? Like affirm the minimalist view that there seems to be a lack of suspension of belief or dosastic beliefs, then it seems that it follows that it goes against the law of non-contradiction. So there's no reason for me to only believe it's either P or not P. There's no reason for me to believe that.
So what
Because it
other
goes
state
against
would the
the
cat
view.
be in if it's not P and it's not P?
It seems that we've just lack of explanation upon that.
I'm not asking for like if you can explain. I'm saying there would have to be some other state. If you can't take this
Again,
black
you're
indicator,
asking me to explain the state of the being, which again, I don't know why you're going on
like it
the
would just be an if
ontology
and
of
only if
what
statement.
the
Like the cat
cat.
is alive if and only if it's not dead, and vice versa.
I mean, I know that follows from the biconditional of P and yeah. But the thing is just that, again, if you grant the view that there could be suspension of belief, it goes against the law of excluding middle. And if we go against the law of excluding middle, there's no reason for me to affirm any position upon either it's alive or dead.
Can you repeat that real
That's
quick?
all I'm saying. Okay, if you grant that there seems to be a middle ground upon the lack of suspension and the constructive evidence, okay, and that falls to be undefined, then it follows that it goes against the law of excluding middle.
Okay, I'm not granting that there wouldn't be a middle ground in terms of belief or having evidence towards a stance. I'm saying there wouldn't be a middle ground of like what's actually existing, like whether or not the cat is alive or not alive.
Okay, I mean, if you grant that there seems to be a lack of suspension of the evidence, or I don't know what you mean by evidence, but I'm assuming what you mean by evidence is just the propositions either being true or false. Um, if we have a middle ground upon that, then it follows that there's no reason for me to believe that it's true or false. I could just say it's undefined. Again, there could just be the lack of explanation. That's going to be the middle ground
Yeah,
until there's
it being
explanation or
undefined doesn't
constructive
mean it's
evidence
not
otherwise.
either one or the other. You just can't
I
define
can't just
that.
say the state. I'm not okay. I think you're confusing it, right? Because I try to explain that propositions are arbitrary, but the problem here is that
I'm
we
trying
can't
to think
say
like
that the
another
streams.
way I can reduce my argument because I don't know how it's not going through.
I mean, I literally explained it. If you grant that if you grant that there's a middle ground upon suspension, and it literally goes against the law of non-contradiction. Oh my god, not the law of
I'm not saying there
non-contradiction,
wouldn't be a
the
middle
law of
ground,
excluding middle.
but you can suspend evidence towards anything, and that would just apply towards your doxastic
I
like
mean,
proposition.
it's hold on. It's not okay. It's not okay. I don't know what you mean by it's just. Are you saying it's purely dosastic?
Yes, that's what I've been saying.
I mean, what leads you to believe that?
Because you're just like talking about suspending belief or something because you don't have constructive evidence towards a proposition.
Well, it's not
If
that.
you don't
It's
have
the lack
evidence
of
that would
just
lead you
purely
to believe
beliefs,
in
right? It's
P,
the
and you don't
lack
have
of.
evidence that would lead you to believe
Hold
in
on.
not P.
It's not the lack of belief. It's literally the lack of pure, like literally the lack of like evidence
Yeah, it's
and
the lack of
reasoning
constructive
upon the
evidence that would lead you
proposition.
to suspend
It's
belief in
not just
either
my
end.
opinion, right? It's not going to be purely against what my. Okay. Why can I not just say that the shrooms box? It seems to be undefined of the cats of existence. What's wrong with that proposition?
I don't think
It's
it would be
undefined.
because, like I said, the cat is granted to be in the box, and there would have to be some property in which it is either alive or not alive.
There seems to be a property of either it's alive or not alive.
There would have to be a property of it being either alive or not alive.
No, what do you mean by property? I don't know what you're talking about.
Like I don't know, some. I guess we could take it to be
You
the
like
spirit or
its
whatever.
existence? Okay, maybe it's like some sort of property that defines a being to be alive or not alive. Is that what you're saying? And you're just
Yeah,
using it as a variable? Okay. I mean, again, I don't see anything wrong with me
it
saying
doesn't have to
that
be
the
taken into account.
existence or the state of this cat's is literally undefined. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, you
Again,
can
like I don't think that critiques the view. Like
so you can view it as undefined, but there would still be like the brute fact of the cat
if you
is
view it
alive.
undefined, then okay, wait. If you grant that you can view it undefined, then that follows against the law of excluding middle. Like,
Yeah, I'm saying you
that's what
can
I've been
view
trying to
it
say.
as undefined. That doesn't mean it's actually undefined.
Wait. It's okay.
I think in this
How
case,
do
the
you make a
mechanism would
prop?
be external.
Okay, just to be clear, if you view it to be either undefined from that proposition, then it follows that the law of excluding middle is going to be contradicted or false, right? Oh, okay. But anyways, I mean, if we're going circular, I mean, we can definitely conclude. I mean, Sam was recording, so oh shit, yo Simon, bro. Oh, Or that's not Simon. Well, I say Simon. Oh my God, Keo. I mean, yo, Bawskee, if you feel like this is circular, we can like definitely conclude and maybe like go to someone to judge. That's fine.